I want to focus on the issue of carbon taxes, because carbon taxes is supposed to be an environmental tax to drive behavioural change when it comes to the use of fossil fuels. In such circumstances, the most effective tax is the one that brings in little revenue, because it's doing what it should do, namely driving behavioural change. The focus of environmental tax should never be on revenue. It should be on motivating that behavioural change. And the current carbon tax model is flawed in this regard, because the goal is about bringing in more taxes rather than, sadly, trying to drive that behavioural change. And instead, the focus is on replacing existing spending lines across government. If we're serious about moving away from our dependence on fossil fuels, then we need a model of carbon tax that is actually fluid. And last month, there were media reports that the government was actually looking at introducing a swing mechanism on fossil fuel taxes to address oil price volatility. But it now seems that the government have shelved that particular proposal, and no one has been prepared to explain why that has been taken off the table. The reality is that we need a taxation model that takes into consideration the ever-changing cost of a barrel of oil. Carbon taxes should vary with the cost of a barrel of oil, because even if carbon taxes increase significantly, but the price of oil collapses, then it will not bring about the type of step change that we actually require. For example, over a decade ago, it was believed that carbon taxes that were then introduced would drive the type of change that was needed to decarbonise our economies. That was based on a projected increase in the price of a barrel of oil before shale fracking technology and other factors distorted the market. So the price of Brent crude oil went from $114 per barrel in June 2014 to just $20 a barrel in January 2016, undermining that whole policy tool. At the opposite end of the spectrum, when the price of a barrel of oil increases sharply, this has a direct impact on the cost of living of families, as well as having a devastating impact on a small, open economy like ours. And we're seeing that impact here today because Ireland is more exposed than most EU countries to oil price volatility. Now, I've raised this issue specifically here with the Minister for Finance, Paschal Donohoe. I've raised it on numerous occasions in the past with him. And his response to me in relation to introducing a more flexible approach to carbon taxes is that, he said to me, the difficulty with my model is that it undermines the revenue that is being generated from carbon tax, and that revenue is being used to fund the type of retrofitting proposals that I've already suggested. But the reality is that families are now having to decide between whether putting food on the table or putting fuel in to heat their homes because of this particular approach to government taxation, which is about taxing the vulnerable and poor to pay for the retrofitting of homes across this country. But the solution to that, Minister, is to ring-fence the additional unplanned VAT that's been generated from the inflated fuel prices to actually replace the lost revenue from the carbon tax income. And that is a way to ensure that people are not paying excessive carbon taxes when the price of fossil fuels increase, while at the same time securing the revenue to carry out the retrofitting of homes.